Anyway, we're recording now.
Did you get that last bit?
No, we did not. Welcome back to the Project Gen X podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Alan Smith, along with...
I'm the other guy, Big Dave.
And we promised you something mysterious this time, and we are here to deliver.
Evidently, Alan's been digging through the attic, and he found
No, it wasn't even in the attic. It's just in a box in a closet.
He found a bunch of old VHS tapes.
Yes, I did.
That were mysteriously labeled music videos.
That's all it said. I found two of them that said music video. So I was like, which one do you want to do? And Dave was like, I don't know, you pick one. So I picked the one that looked the oldest is what I did.
Oh, and there were some gems.
It's from 1991.
You're going to have to let me borrow the tape so I can digitize some of this stuff.
Yeah, I was looking at that. I was like, I could do it. I could do it because I've got the stuff for it. So
well, so do I, but yeah. I've also got the editing software.
Well, there is that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
To break it up into clips.
So we watched 2 hours of this tape.
It's now 11 o'clock at night here.
And we watched 2 hours of this tape, and it was spectacular.
Don't.
No. We'll talk about it. So, we have talked about 1991 on here before, dealing with music and movies.
It was more brutal than we even remembered it.
Let's just start. Okay, first off, the very first thing on this tape was a world premiere video. This is all MTV stuff. This is everything on here is off MTV. So far has been off MTV. Okay, yep. And it was the first hour of it, a little over an hour that we watched, was all music videos.
Yes.
The very first one was the world premiere video for Metallica's Unforgiven, and it's the 14-minute long version of it that, like, the music doesn't start until halfway into it.
The music starts at the beginning.
It starts with that little side, and then it goes off.
Quiet,
yeah.
And you're sitting there for...
watching this kid
12 and a half minutes
in
black and white going... What is this?
And then it comes back
on.
What is this? Yeah, then you get
then you get the music, and you're like...
Then you get
what is this?
Most people think is the video. What consider the video for the Unforgiven.
Yeah.
Which I was telling Dave.
We've talked about how I feel about the Black Album.
I know.
This was.
I know you don't like it.
Of the end for Metallica.
I know you don't like it. The thing with it is that was the actual that world premiere video that came up on the first of it. Mm-hmm. That was the world premiere video.
Yeah.
Like I knew, I remember them. Hey, on this night at such and such time, we're going to be we're premiering the world. We're going to have the world premiere of the new Metallica video. You know this, and so I sat there and I was watching television and hit record on the VCR because hey, I'm gonna get this. So
I'm going to preserve this for posterity.
It wasn't even that. It was at the time. It was so I can go back and watch it over and over again. That's what it was. Which I think I've probably watched that video 3 or 4 times total, counting tonight.
Yeah,
that particular version of it.
Because that's a terrible video.
Yeah. So
that's a terrible. What is it with? I'm gonna have to replace this mic.
There you go. Just don't bump into it. I think it'll be fine. So, so that was the first thing right off the bat.
Yes.
What was the second video? Now I can't remember.
Motley Crue.
Was that the second video?
Yeah.
Was it? No, it wasn't.
Are you sure?
No, the second video was Wild Side. Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch.
See,
another black and white video.
I'm already trying to block it out of my head because it's that guy.
Yeah, Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, Wild Side. Sampling Lou Reed.
Of all the years of having the Funky Bunch with him, he never introduces them ever. They're just always some dudes walking
They're just
behind
there.
him.
Yeah. And of course, we're making fun of it the entire time, because it's one of those things that nothing says I am making a socially conscious video, about real world problems than having Marky Mark shirtless tell you about all the bad that's going on in the world.
Yeah.
So it's because Charles was the culprit. So and he was really, really stretching on some of those rhymes.
It was somebody else was writing those for him.
But it was really Okay, you forced that one in there.
Yeah.
Okay, that's...
Yeah.
There's a reason people only remember Good Vibrations, okay? Let's be honest. It's
and the Calvin Klein commercials. Those are the two things people remember.
Right. And, of course, now that he's a big movie star, but...
Yeah.
Mocky Mock. So, yeah, it's...
Then it was Motley Crue.
Then it was Motley Crue's 1991 video for
Home Sweet Home.
Because they had put out their Decade of Decadence, which was basically a greatest hits.
Yeah.
And they had re-recorded that song, and so they put out a new video, again, in black and white.
Yeah.
Black and white was really big in 1991.
Well,
so
then we had the Boyz II Men.
It's So Hard to Say Goodbye to Yesterday.
And it was pretty much all black and white, except for where they go in and it was mostly black and white.
Yeah, there were about half the videos black and white, but then they would have their ties would be blue or something.
That was the big thing in the 90s, is having a black and white video with specific pieces of clothing colored, and it was
or something in the.
It was a throwback to the movie Rumblefish.
A little bit, yeah. Well, there was in the late 80s, going into the early 90s, there was a big deal with that, like in commercials and in music videos and even in movies.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it really was. It's one of those things where it was like, oh, look, everything's black and white except for the pinks, or except for the blues or the greens or the whatever, type stuff.
And you had to go in, you had to color those frame by frame.
Yeah,
it was not a cheap endeavor.
So far we've got.
I did not touch this thing; it just started doing it again.
So far we have got Metallica, Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch,
Motley Crue,
Boyz II Men, and then we got into the Guns N' Roses of it all, because there was the video for Don't Cry, which I still think is a great song and music video.
Yep.
There was the music video for Live and Let Die.
Yeah, Live and Let Die, Knocking on Heaven's Door.
Nope. We never saw Knocking on Heaven's Door.
Yeah, we did.
No, we didn't. Not in a music video form. We saw it on something else that we'll get to in a minute.
Maybe you're right.
Yeah, but those two videos we saw, and the thing is we saw all these videos multiple times. And Adam's Groove was one of them. MC Hammer. Which is great because it was for the Addams Family movie,
and the entire cast was in the video,
all of them
on the Addams Family movie set.
I know, and it's kind of cool because you see Raul Julia and what's her name?
Morticia.
I just had it.
I can't pull it.
But yeah, and of course you see Christina Ricci, very young Christina Ricci is Wendy Adams, and the one that was missing though was Fester.
You saw Fester in video,
right? But movie clips. He wasn't in any of the other stuff.
I think.
No, he wasn't.
You might be right.
He wasn't, and it was Angelica Houston. That's who it was.
Yeah, there you go.
It just finally popped in my head. But yeah, you see them dancing with Hammer, and at one point they're Hammer and Raul Julia are
sword
fencing.
Fighting.
They're fencing, and that kind of. It's like, okay, this is
because Hammer's been kissing on Morticia.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Oh yeah, this is you could do this kind of stuff in 1991. You could get Raul Julia to be in your soundtrack video. Mountain music video. It's
back when music videos actually kind of mattered.
I know, and they were a big thing. What other? We saw the video for Hard to Handle, Black Crowes.
Yes, which is my least favorite song from them.
Now, here's the thing: there was some other stuff on here. Okay,
commercials.
There's commercials from the era which. Some of them were spectacular. There was the TurboGrafx 16 commercial, which was great.
99.99.
Yeah, I know.
Turbo.
Then there was the Super Nintendo commercial with Paul Rudd.
Yes,
which was with a very young Paul Rudd, but he still looks the same 30 years later.
Yes, he's a time traveler.
He really kind of is.
Yeah.
Paul Rudd has looked the same for as long as he's been around.
You also had the Final Fantasy II commercial.
Yeah, well, it was a Final Fantasy commercial, but that was actually in this other thing that we're going to talk about. But yes, it was a Final Fantasy II for the Super Nintendo and Final Fantasy Legends for the Game Boy.
Oh, that's right.
They were both in the same commercial.
Chill out, Dad.
Yeah. Now,
Chill out, Dad.
There was a video. There was one commercial we saw that was it was a public service announcement.
It was from the U.S. Department of Health.
Yes, it was. And it was like
it's very extreme close-ups of a guy.
It looks like he's getting dressed
up for a party in a suit.
Right, and it's like saying, he didn't
plan on being the best athlete in school.
He just did.
He just did.
Yeah, he didn't plan on getting straight A's. He just did.
He just did.
He didn't plan on graduating at the top of his class. He just did. And then the very last thing is this pull up, and it shows that he's in a coffin. It says he didn't plan on getting AIDS. He just did.
Don't get AIDS
is the tagline on this thing. And we're not trying to downplay AIDS. It's just like the whole "don't get AIDS." It's like, oh, really? It's that simple? We're just not going to get AIDS? Okay, that's fine.
Oh, we could just choose not to get it. How about some information on how it's actually...
But yeah, the tagline on this thing was "Don't get AIDS." It didn't say "Don't get AIDS, do something," or "Don't do something." It just said "Don't get AIDS."
It was like, these are the risky...
none of that stuff. None of it. Of course, this is also pre-internet, so there's like, no, go to this website and whatever. It's
like, hey, you might want to protect yourself. You might want to actually have protected. If you're going to do this, you might want to do that.
Yeah, it was so crazy.
Don't get AIDS.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like, wow, that is wow.
Thank you, U.S. government. That is so informative.
So I'm trying to think some of the other. Oh, there was the.
We're gonna have to clip these up and get them on the YouTube channel.
Yes, we're definitely gonna get these on our YouTube channel because they deserve to be seen. And not necessarily the music videos. We can link to those, because I'm sure they're all available on YouTube.
The Spike Lee, Levi.
Oh, there were so many 501. The 501 commercials.
Those were all Spike Lee commercials.
I know, and there were tons of them. Like there were tons of them.
The Levi's Big Jean commercial.
I know,
was
and right off the bat, and I'm trying to think what else. Some of the commercials I can't even remember. Oh, the
local commercials.
There was that one for a local pawn shop for Tolliver's here, which I don't even think is around any longer. There was
the skate center commercial.
There was for our local skate centers. There was a couple of those. There was the Maxell tape.
Oh, remember that? TDK.
There was a TDK also. Yeah. Yes, yeah. And then there were...
It was right at the time when they were trying to compete with CD and they were coming out with the metal tape.
Yes. Yeah.
Metal tape.
Yeah. And
it's almost CD quality.
Yeah, almost. Yeah. Kind of.
Oh, there was the Teen Spirit deodorant commercial.
We did get the commercial for Teen Spirit. We did get that. That is true. That is true because we were both dying over that one. And yes, the Teen Spirit deodorant that's what they're talking about. It smells like Teen Spirit. It's about a deodorant. It's not about he's plugged into the culture. And it's like, no. You smell like
the story
deodorant.
Is, what was her name?
It was Kathleen Hanna from Bikini Kills.
Yeah, it had basically spray painted.
She sprayed it. Kurt smells like Teen Spirit
on his bedroom wall.
Right, and he mistook it, not knowing that it was. He thought she was saying, "Oh, he's in touch with the kids today or whatever." And it's like, no. You smell like Teen Spirit.
You smell like a teenage girl. That's what you smell like. So
yeah. So we had more videos. There was a video for Hard to Handle, Black Crowes. I know. Yeah, that's. When we talked about that too, it was like, man, they had such good songs on that album.
That album was a great album, and there were 2 songs on it that were why?
That was one of them, I know. Yeah. And that was Rick Rubin said, you're going to record this. And
Rick Rubin didn't even get involved in the album until
they went multi-platinum. Yeah. And then all of a sudden he threw his name on it. His name was not on those first couple million copies that were sold.
If you've got a Black Crowes album of the first album and it doesn't have Rick Rubin's name on it.
Does it say executive produced by?
Yeah. You've got one of the first ones, and it's a little bit of a collector's item.
Well,
you might get $10 for it instead of $5.
I know exactly. If that much.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we had that. And I'm trying to think what else. But of the 2 hours that we watched, and the thing is Dave kept going, why is this video on here again? Because there were multiple multiples of all of these videos because it was one of those things. I would come home from school. Obviously, from the time that this happened, this would have been in the fall. Like, this was the first semester of my junior year, or excuse me, of my senior year of high school. Yeah. So this is because this is one of those things where the Black Album was out, the Guns N' Roses' Use Your Illusions albums were out at this point. Obviously, all the stuff we talked about, but so it was one of those things that I would come home and watch. And that's the other thing we talked about, Most Wanted, which was their video countdowns, their top 10 countdown. This is pre-TRL, and all that stuff, because MTV had a top 10 countdown for years and years and years, but it wasn't live. It wasn't, it wasn't at the,
studios overlooking Times Square.
Exactly, that kind of stuff. It was pre-recorded. And it was one of those things you could call and vote. I think it was like 50 cents or something like that, or call or whatever. So it was one of those things that, like, there had always been a countdown of some sort. So at this time it was called Most Wanted was what it was. So it was one of those things. I would come home in the afternoon, I get out of school, and it usually came on right after I got home. And so I would sit there and watch and record the videos that I liked. So I got multiples of the same.
It's all Metallica.
It's all hair metal.
It's Metallica. It's Motley Crue.
Right.
It was
Boyz II Men. Yeah, and that's the other ones that, like the Marky Mark and the were only on there one time.
What
are
you doing with Marky Mark?
I liked that song because of the Lou Reed. I really liked that. But it's
a terrible.
You watch it now, and it's just like, what were they thinking? What was I thinking?
Lou Reed Payday.
Yeah.
Pretty much. He killed my song.
So we got a little over an hour into this tape.
Now, see, if this had been my house, and if my parents hadn't recorded over every videotape I ever had, mine would be full of Headbangers Ball and 120 Minutes.
I guarantee you, once we get into that, we're going to find a lot of that stuff, because we only watched the first 2 hours of a 6-hour tape. So this is part 1. Now, here's the other thing. There was in this, with these commercials and and some of these other commercials, was a segment of MTV News.
Yes.
It was about how people couldn't understand the lyrics of Smells Like Teen Spirit. And so they were talking to different artists who couldn't recognize song lyrics from other artists. So they had Sebastian Bach and Snake Sabo on there, and they were talking, and he was talking about, like, it was a Van Halen song that he couldn't remember, that he didn't know the lyrics.
Sorry, kids, for those who don't know who Dave Sabo and
he's
Sebastian,
the bass player from. Sabo is the guitar player.
Yeah.
No, Snake
Sabo was a guitar player.
That's right. He's a guitar
player. Both from Skid Row.
And then you had was it Suzanne Vega? She was talking about
Elvis
Costello song. You had
Paula Abdul talking about Janet Jackson.
Was she talking about Janet Jackson? No, she was just talking about not being able to recognize some whatever.
Who was talking about Janet Jackson?
Nobody. What they did is that they would show, like, okay, what do you think this lyric is? And they would play part of the song, and then they would rewind it, and they would put the actual lyrics up on the which that was the Janet Jackson. Was it When I Think of You? Yeah, and it was, and then they did. Of course, they did Nirvana, but they also did. What was the other one? Oh, I can't remember what the other one was.
The Janet Jackson one, the song was actually better when I didn't know the lyrics. Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway,
it's just true.
But it was kind of one of those. It was interesting. They had a bunch of different different artists on there talking about not being able to understand lyrics to. I know what it was. It was the other one was that they did was the Mountain Song by Jane's Addiction.
Oh, that's right.
Remember, because there was that was I got that one wrong. I was like, that was, but yeah. So it was kind of interesting, and I know there is some more MTV News segments along this tape,
and we're talking about Tabitha Sorensen,
Kurt Loder, pretty much, then Tabitha Sorensen. We had Sorensen, Tabitha Sorensen.
All right.
Or was it Tabitha Soren?
Tabitha
Soren. It is Tabitha Soren.
I was
right.
Soren.
You're right. It's Tabitha Soren. That's right. Now, the other thing is that the VJs that we saw,
I didn't recognize
John Norris.
John Norris, I recognized, who I hated. I could not.
He stayed with them
weasel.
forever. John Norris was on there, and then what was the other woman's name? Was it Karen White?
I don't know. She was not memorable.
I think it was Karen White.
Martha Stewart was on there for a very short amount of time.
Well, that was a commercial that we saw for Rockline.
Yes,
and that was pretty cool.
Who were they talking to? Was it Chris Isaac?
No, it was who were they talking to?
Get ready to call into Rockline and talk to some famous music. I think it was like $1.99 a minute or something.
Yeah. No, because that was a live show that they had. So I'm sure it was an 800 number or something.
No, I guarantee they were charging.
I'm sure they got some kind of money out of it, but it was probably one of those 50 cents a call or some BS.
No, it was always 50 cents a minute. It was always a minute.
So but yeah, so we got that. And then we got a bunch of commercials for the New Year's Eve ball 1992.
Where you're going to get a double barrel shotgun of Guns N' Roses.
As you can tell, Dave really paid attention and loves to do voices. So
the voices were.
Did you see who all was going to be in this though? It was Hammer. Hammer was hosting.
Yeah.
The Chili Peppers played. Was it EMF?
EMF was
playing. Who else? I can't remember who else. And then there was the Guns N' Roses. But see the thing, because
every commercial was loud and angry and screamy and Sunday.
And we saw one of the little interstitials later also that was very, very Soviet Russia.
Oh no, straight up Soviet Russia.
It was MTV, the da-da-da-da-da, type thing that they would do. It's just like
no, it was straight up Russian.
Mm-hmm.
It was like
it was very communist, is what it was. It was like people marching in the streets and and all that kind of stuff. It's like wow,
this is MTV on a red flag,
right.
And people holding up cards voting.
Yeah, and I
think there was a bread line.
I don't know, and it was a very interesting mix of things. And like I said, I guarantee you, because we're only like a third of the way through it at this point.
Yeah,
there's a lot more, and there's another tape. And I don't know if that tape is older or what. So I have no idea. I literally did not preview any of this. I was just looking through. So I was like, oh, this one says music videos. Oh, this one says music videos. We'll look at these. Now,
the second hour.
The second hour was because they advertised it. This weekend, you can watch the 1991 The Year in Rock. Because MTV used to do that every they would do an hour long. The year in, or whatever year, the year in rock,
the state of the rock union.
So we had an hour long about 1991, the year in rock. It started off with a segment about how the concert industry was down 20% from what it had been prior, and how record sales were terrible now.
And how the economy was tanking.
Yeah.
And because the economy was tanking, people that had been playing to 15,000 people were now having trouble playing to
3,000 or 4,000. And there were some big acts in it.
Even Sting is having trouble selling tickets right now.
And that was, they showed a Mellencamp concert where it was like hardly anybody there.
There might have been 200 people.
Yeah, it was just like wow,
big stadium.
And they were showing like concerts tours that were canceled and stuff. Yeah. And some of them were like, one of them was like it was Judas Priest and it was Judas Priest, Alice Cooper, Motorhead, Dangerous Toys, and who was the other one? Who was the Metal Church? That's who it was. Yeah. And I was like, dude, I would love to see that show.
Yeah.
And and there were some other ones. It was like Jellyfish and X and King's X and Primus.
Yeah, it was Gathering of the Tribes.
Yeah. There were several of those where it was like, man, dude, these were like, I would seriously go to something like this.
Yeah.
Now, here's the funny thing. Do you know how much concert tickets were in 1991?
Well, I was getting grass seats out at Starwood for like $15 a pop.
Oh, it was less than that, I'm sure. In 91. Because the thing is that I went to see, my first concert was that year. It was ZZ Top and the Black Crowes.
Yeah.
It was early in the year, and I think the ticket was like, it was a general admission ticket at Municipal Auditorium.
Yeah.
And the ticket was like $17. I mean, that was $17, you know?
Yeah.
I remember, like, even into the mid-90s, paying less than $20 for, like, good seats at, you know, like, concerts.
We'd always go to sit in the grass.
It depends on who it was. Yeah. Sometimes, you know, because you can always get, like, because they usually would have, like, $10 grass passes or something, you know? Sometimes they would have $5 grass passes, depending on who it was.
I remember what my first show out at Starwood was, because I went with Tony Summers and his family. We rode in the back of an S10 pickup truck. Mm-hmm. We stopped at some barbecue joint on Dickerson Road and picked up sandwiches somewhere and drove to Starwood. It was me and Tony in the back of the truck, and it was Driving and Crying, Bad Company, and Leonard Skinner.
There you go.
It's like, okay.
Yeah. That sounds about right for early 90s around here. I saw one of those. I guess it was Bad Company and Nugent that was out there.
I may have gone to that show with you, because I remember going to that show. No, you didn't go with
me. I remember who I went with, and the thing is I got the tickets like the day of.
It was like Spirit of the Wild was the show that he came. He was out there shooting his bow on stage with flaming arrows. He did do
that. Yeah, he did do that.
Yeah. And, no, this is Spirit of the Wild.
It may have been. I don't know. I know that Bad Company was on their third lead singer by that point. Yeah. You know, and but yeah, it's we're getting off. Some of the stuff they talked about in that Year in Rock was pretty interesting, though. You know, you got that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They had a whole segment about celebrity lawsuits, you know, or arrests and that kind of stuff. And it was one of those things where, like, Chuck D was suing St. Ides because they had used an unauthorized sample of his voice in one of the.
And he had already been out preaching against how
the malt liquor companies,
companies were destroying, you know, black communities and all this, and then they purposely used a sample of his voice, saying that St. Ives was the best. And he was like, they had to.
No, that wasn't what it was. It was he said, they said St. Ides, you know, whatever, and then they used a sample of him saying it was from Bring the Noise.
Yeah.
What was this? I forget what it was, but it's one that's like, I recognize that. As a matter of fact, they used two different samples in there.
When they interviewed Chuck D about it, he's like, no, I saw it as a slap in the face. And then they had to beep the rest of the interview. He goes, it was basically, I am suing those. Because those used my.
Right.
And, I'm going to get them, man.
Yeah. And go Chuck. I mean, I've always liked Chuck D.
Yeah.
So it's a. I'm trying to think who was some of the other ones. Oh, that was the year that Paula Abdul was sued by
her backup singer.
Well, it wasn't a backup singer. It was a studio singer who claimed that she sang co-lead on those songs.
Right.
Because let's be honest, Paula Abdul can't sing. Okay, I'm sorry, she can't.
She's a choreographer.
Yeah, but the thing is like all of that is studio tricks that you hear on those albums. There's a reason why you never actually see her sing live.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I remember when that happened, that was kind of one of those dirty little secrets that the music industry did, where they would have someone who was a stronger singer sing along, like they would record their vocals and then have like Paula Abdul sing over top of it, and they would kind of mix them together to form you know, types of. It was a very common practice at the time. It's pre-Pro Tools, and so it was kind of, you know, and pitch, you know, the what is it,
autocorrect
or auto-tune,
auto-tune,
you know, and all that stuff. So, but and it was one of those things. It was funny because in this thing, she's like, oh, you know, she's trying to take a shortcut to the top, blah blah blah. She wound up settling that lawsuit because she was going to lose it.
James Brown was suing Kenneth Cole.
Yes,
for their shoe advertisement, because
that was great. It was a Lock and Key is what it was called.
Yeah.
And it was literally like, it was, the shoes they had like a skeleton key, like hole, you know, for the key and everything. And it said what?
It was like two things with soul that are under lock and key.
That's what it was.
And it was like James Brown in his shoe.
Yeah.
And James Brown was like, nah, I'm going to sue him.
Yeah. And of course, the other big one that year was when Rick James and his girlfriend were arrested for kidnapping and assault and in sexual battery, which they both did a lot of time eventually over.
Yeah.
A lot of time.
Billy Idol got arrested
for punching a woman in the back seat of a car. Yeah. Chris Robinson got arrested for disorderly conduct because he got into an argument with a lady in a convenience store
while he was buying Twinkies.
Yeah. And he had the greatest quote. He's like, "Yeah, cocaine dealers and child molesters are like get off and they're walking, and the cops are worried about an argument in a convenience store. So we know what they really worry about."
Yeah. We also got a lot on Russia and Gorbachev.
Yeah, because of the fall of the, well, it was also
Yeltsin.
That was also they were talking about concerts, like big concerts that happened. You had Rock in Rio that year, which Guns N' Roses headlined one night. And you had a bunch of I think New Kids on the Block was there, and Hammer, and a bunch of I think Sting played. There was a bunch of pretty big acts for the time that played. And then you had the because there was a Soviet coup, or there was a coup that they tried to overthrow Gorbachev by some hardline the Communist Party, and it was thwarted. So they had a huge basically a freedom concert,
Monsters of Rock concert.
It was AC/DC and Metallica and I forget who all it was now, but it was one of those things that again, there's a video of all that, and the bad thing about that is that there was a lot of violence that happened to that concert. Both people died because they got trampled. There were a lot of rapes that happened during that.
Part of it was the government that had just been stopped from doing basically a military coup, were the ones that were providing security,
right? And they beat down a bunch
for the people who
were
were actually uprising against them and were at the concert.
One of the lawsuits was AC/DC had a couple people killed in Utah at a concert that were trampled to death, and they sued AC/DC over that. I forget what happened.
Oh, that was the year of the Guns N' Roses riot in St. Louis.
In St. Louis, yes, it was. Yes, it was. Oh, dude. There was a whole section just about Guns N' Roses in this because 91 was a big year for them for multiple reasons. Not all of them good. We are going to, I am right now as we speak doing the research for our Guns N' Roses show, which is upcoming, because
I'm just going to be along for the ride on that one.
I am doing a deep dive on some stuff for that one. And it's going to be another one of those episodes.
Oh, I'm sure.
What else? Oh, they talked about successful concerts. That was the first year of Lollapalooza.
Yes.
Okay, so Jane's Addiction, 9 Inch Nails, Ice-T.
No, it wasn't Ice-T. It was Body Count.
I thought it was just Ice-T.
No, I think it was Body Count.
Was it Body Count? It may have been because that was when Body Count.
That was when Body Count came out.
Right, it was in late '91. Well, no, it came out. That's right, because they went on tour with Lollapalooza.
Yeah,
and then the album came out later.
Yeah,
that's what it was. I think Ice Cube might have been on that one too. That was after he had left NWA, and that was the other one. That was 91 was also the year whenever
No Vaseline.
No, when Dr. Dre assaulted D. Barnes.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That was the other one that was a lot of people that we all like did a lot of really bad things.
Well, this is where we talk about having to separate the artist from the art.
That was another one. We were talking. I was making fun of Mocky Mock, because he's talking about all this, people being racist and all that kind of stuff. I was like, yeah, why don't you tell us about that time that you beat that Asian man half to death just because he was Asian? Yeah, he legitimately did time in prison for a hate crime when he was a teenager. So I get it. People change.
Yep.
But that's one of those things that people don't talk about. It's kind of like you don't hear a whole lot about what happened with D. Barnes. You don't hear a whole lot about a lot of stuff.
That was back in the day where you did your time, and you tried to correct yourself and change as a human being and then move along. It's not like people digging
cancel
back.
Culture. Yeah, I know. I'll say it. Yeah. Something you said 10, 15 years ago, and now they want you to lose your job and everything else. And I know.
I'm not the same person I was a year ago.
That was one of the things they talked about was the PC, political correctness becoming a thing. And they were talking about hey, it's no longer black, it's African American. It's no longer disabled, it's
differently
abled. Yeah. And then it wasn't
no longer short,
it
was vertically challenged.
Some of and they talk about how stupid that was, especially the vertically challenged. One of the ones that I think is really ridiculous ridiculous. They did try to like make a thing for a while for bald men.
Yeah.
They wanted to say follically challenged.
Yeah.
And I'm like, seriously, I'm freaking bald, okay? I'll say it, okay? It is what it is.
Like a cue ball.
Yeah, of course I shave it on top of it also. I really am bald, But it's just still one of those things where it's like, geez, just call it what it is. I'm going to refrain from using that one phrase that we know, because it is a little bit it's got a little race to it, It's but it is. Just call it what it is, man. I'm bald. I'm short and I'm bald, okay? I'm not vertically challenged. I'm not follically challenged. I'm short and bald.
You forgot one.
What, fat?
Fat.
Yeah. I'm definitely pudgy, okay, if nothing else. So it's I'll give you that. I haven't quite crossed over into fat yet. I'm working on it.
The only one out of those three I've really got on you is fat. I still have my hair.
Yeah, but you're redhead. So. Did you see the meme? That reminds me, the meme with it was Daniel Craig and the Queen. Yes. Walking. Just, you take the wife 007. I'm going to take care of the little ginger prick.
Yeah, I saw that one.
That's pretty awesome.
We don't like ginger. We like special edition.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, collectible.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Just because they call me Daywalker.
I was going to say, like, yeah, what? Evil to the core.
Not evil to the core.
No soul.
That's not true. We have hundreds of souls.
Just other people's. Yeah, I know.
We eat them. But yeah, we got the amount of stuff that was on this. VHS
I know,
tape.
and it was just, and like I said, we're only a third of the way through it. I don't even know what's after this.
Yeah.
But what else did they talk about in the year in rock? Of course, they talked about like
people who died.
There was that. We had, of course, in '91 we had
Eric Carr.
Eric Carr, which was one that I had forgotten. I mean, I knew that he died when I was in high school. Yeah. Eric Carr was the drummer for a long-time drummer for Kiss. He died of cancer.
Miles Davis had a stroke and died
Miles
that year.
Davis. Connor Clapton. That was the year that he met his demise, unfortunately. At 45 years old, I think it was.
Fell out a window.
And we got the song "Tears in Heaven" because of it. Of course, Freddie Mercury was the big one.
Yeah.
That was late.
Michael Landon.
Michael Landon died that year. Who else did they?
There's a bunch of them.
What's this from the Temptations?
Farrell?
He was also the voice of Audrey 2 on.
I can't think of the gentleman's name.
That's gonna kill me.
Well, I should have been taking notes.
Yeah, I thought about that also.
But I was in shock at some of the stuff I was seeing. Don't get AIDS. Thank you, government. That was so helpful.
This was also 1991 was the year that Magic Johnson announced that he was HIV positive.
Yes.
So he's coming up on 30 years. That tells you a whole lot about because the thing in 1991,
that was a death sentence.
When Magic Johnson announced that he was HIV positive, he didn't have full-blown AIDS, but he was HIV positive. We all thought he's going to die, his wife's going to die. More than likely, his kid's going to die.
Yeah,
because depending on when he contracted, and when
there was a whole segment of the country who thought that only gay people could get AIDS, which was ridiculous.
And that was still. It had crossed over by that point, but it was still largely considered a gay disease.
Yeah,
or it was a gay problem.
Well, there was nobody high profile that had
until Magic Johnson.
Well,
and then
Freddie Mercury.
Well, but we didn't know that yet. See, that's the thing people forget. We didn't know that Freddie Mercury had AIDS until after Magic Johnson announced.
That's true.
And then he came out and said that he was his publicist or something. He didn't make the announcement himself.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things that the publicist came out and said he was so far. Well, that's the whole thing. Magic Johnson announced it early in November. And within 2 weeks, the announcement came out that Freddie Mercury had it and he was gone.
Yeah.
I mean, like that. It was like Freddie Mercury has AIDS. And then just a few days later, Freddie Mercury passed away, you know, and again, it was like that 1-2 punch of, And then the next year we got Arthur Ashe.
Yeah.
Like 6 months later or something like that. Hey, I got it because of blood transfusion when I had surgery. Type stuff, and he wound up dying a few years after that.
Yeah.
So but AIDS was a thing that it was scary. It was scary as shit growing up during that time period, especially after it jumped. If you were straight, it was one of those things that when it jumped and all of a sudden we started seeing, oh, the straight populace has got to deal with this now, which apparently from some new stuff that I've heard, they say that, it came to the United States in 1979, that was the big thing. Apparently it was here long before that. It was called something else.
Oh, I haven't heard any of this.
Oh, yeah, we'll talk about it off air because it's one of those I don't want to give, but it's one of those things where there's been some new information where all the way back to the early 70s, but they were calling it something else at the time.
The two things we grew up worrying about was getting nuked by Russia and catching AIDS.
Right, and the thing is that by the end of 91, Russia was done for.
Yeah.
That was another year before they officially disbanded the Soviet Union, but they were not the Soviet Union any longer. And then all of a sudden, one of our sports heroes was going to die.
Yep.
30 years later, he's still around.
And then we went to war in
Iraq. Well, that's the thing. We just passed the 30-year anniversary of the quote-unquote end of that war. Like whenever we pulled back out of Iraq and went back to Kuwait, said, hey, look, we did what we came here to do. We came here to kick them out of Iraq, or to kick them out of Kuwait.
Yeah.
And we were 100 miles outside of Baghdad at that time.
Yeah.
Here's the thing most people forget. And at the time, it was like a very, very unpopular thing that we didn't just roll right on into Baghdad and take Saddam Hussein out of power.
Yeah.
George H.W. Bush knew if we go into Baghdad and overthrow Saddam, we're going to create a huge power vacuum over here.
Yep.
And who's going to come in and fill that? Is it going to be Iran? Is it going to be Syria? Is it going to be, Jordan, who we were not on good terms with at the time, or any number, you know? And so it was one of those things. Let's just leave the devil we know, in charge,
and not have to figure out who the devil that we don't know is.
And then his idiot son, a decade later, decided, hey, let's go finish what my daddy didn't finish, and we've been there ever since. And there's a reason his daddy didn't go in. It was
that's because Senior was a little sharper than Junior.
That's true, He definitely was a lot more of a diplomat than Junior. I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that again,
that's one of look at who his vice president was. His vice president was a hawk.
Well, it's one of those funny things watching this video.
Yeah.
Watching this this news report, and they're talking about how we're not going to know we went into it not knowing what the long-term repercussions are going to be. Well, 30 years later, we know what the long-term repercussions were from this.
Yeah.
Although they didn't really kick into high gear for another decade afterwards. And then,
One of my favorite parts of it was every time Loader started talking about the music of the day, it was, this music sucks. Mm-hmm. Radio sucks.
Dude, they talked about how bad music was in 91. Again, this was right at the very beginning.
This is right before Nirvana hit.
Nirvana had just hit.
Yeah.
Just hit at the very tail end.
Because they're making fun of the lyrics. You can't understand what the lyrics are.
Well, they weren't really making fun of it. They were making fun of the fact you couldn't understand the lyrics. They weren't making fun of the lyrics. Because, again, the part that they put up there of, like, what did they say was the here we are now, entertain us. Which, again, is kind of the rallying point for Gen X of, no, seriously, here we are, entertain us. Go ahead. We dare you. Go ahead. Do it. So yeah, it was very interesting watching this. I'm interested because I'm pretty sure that the MTV New Year's Ball is on there also.
Oh no.
I'm pretty sure it's on there.
Didn't Axl blow up at that one too?
No, he didn't. See, here's the thing. And I remember watching it. The Chili Peppers perform live. Like they're there, they perform on stage. But Guns N' Roses were on tour, so it's one of those things that they kick to them in concerts, wherever they are, and they play a couple songs. I think they do Live and Let Die and Don't Cry are the two songs that they do, if I'm not mistaken. If I can remember 30 years ago, because it's been that long. But it's it's interesting, and I know that there are other MTV News segments on there also, because I remember I used to love recording those sometimes too. So it's pretty interesting, it's going to be interesting. It's such a time capsule. Now, what I'm really interested in too is to get to the other tape, because I don't know if it's from before this or after this. So it could be stuff like
I'm actually worried about what other videotapes you have.
Oh, I have all kinds. Oh, dude, I've got a huge box of videotapes. I've got about 4 boxes of videotapes. Oh, no. Some of them are labeled, some of them are not. I know there's a lot of concert videos, where I like back when eBay, oh hey, I really like this band. Let me go see what bootleg videos are available, and I have all kinds of Counting Crows and Concrete Blonde and U2 and Springsteen and a whole bunch of stuff
Motley Crue.
I've got a Motley Crue that I gave you of a concert that we went to. I think it was a concert I know I went to. I'm not sure if you went with me to that one or not, but yeah. So it's like, okay, here you go. This is a show that happened here in Nashville out at Starwood.
The only time I saw Motley Crue at Starwood, they had. Tommy Lee wasn't with them.
Right.
It was the other 3 members of the group.
Right.
It was a female
Samantha
drummer.
Mahoney.
Yeah.
And see, I saw them with Randy Castillo, and then I saw them with Samantha Mahoney also.
See, I'm actually feeling a little ripped off right now because I actually went to go see Motley Crue on the farewell tour,
and now they're back out on tour.
And now they're going to be back out on tour with JoJo.
You knew.
Oh, I knew. Yeah.
Everybody. Anytime somebody says this is it, this is our farewell tour. This is a farewell for now tour. Although Ozzy is supposed to be doing his No More Tours too.
Yeah.
Because Ozzy's not looking too good.
Well,
these
he's
days.
got Parkinson's.
He's in his.
He's got Parkinson's.
Does he have Parkinson's?
I think that's what they said.
I know that the reason that he originally was going to retire when he did that No More Tours tour,
which box,
was because they thought that he had Parkinson's, and then they got a second opinion and come to find out he didn't have it, and so he kept going for another almost 30 years now, but I did just see here recently that the No More Tours Tour 2 is getting ready to kick off whenever everything opens back up. But I don't know. I mean, the thing is, he's in his 70s as it is. He can barely get around, and so that doesn't surprise me that he's going to call it a day. They have to eventually, I mean, that's.
It was January 21st of last year that they said he's got a Parkinson's disease diagnosis.
Okay, all right.
They even did a big interview.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, like I said, I know that they gave him a prognosis once before, and then he got a second opinion, and they were like, no, you don't have it. Now it might have been one of those things where he was so I mean, it's you just never know with that kind of stuff. So I'm trying to think what else
we got to talk to.
We saw some. What was it? They were talking about some other successful tours. It was like Van Halen, because they were going out on the Foreign Lawful Carnal Knowledge tour, and
Alice in
Chains opened for them.
Yeah,
that was also the year of the Clash of the Titans tour, which was Slayer, Anthrax, Megadeth, and Alice in Chains. Alice in Chains was on a bunch of tours. They were supporting Facelift still, because it had come out the year prior.
At the time, nobody had heard of grunge. And Alice in Chains at the time was a
metal band. They were a metal band.
They were a hard rock band.
Right, yeah. And that's because that was kind of one of those things. I remember when Facelift was released, hearing Man in the Box, and it was like, oh, this is metal, or hard rock, whatever you want to call it. And then fast forward a year and a half.
After Nirvana hit.
And then they're from Seattle.
Oh, everything's grunge. Yeah. Everything's grunge.
And of course, when Dirt came out, it kind of cemented them as a grunge band. I mean, that was a... but yeah, this has been really interesting watching this tape so far. And like I said, this is only part 1. We're probably going to get 3 parts out of this and then go on to other tapes.
Sidebar?
Yes.
We need to talk to Pastor Dave.
About the Megadeth show.
Megadeth show.
Yeah, we still haven't heard anything else about that. We'll
Pastor Dave,
if we don't talk to you between now and then, Dave, or Pastor Dave, contact one or both of us and let us know what's going on.
We need to know what the dates are, because I've also now got a plan around Renee's family reunion.
Didn't he send us something a little while back?
It's been a while.
About the reschedule I'll have. Oh, here it is.
It's Megadeth and Lamb of God and Trivium and
no, that's not it. I don't know. We'll figure it out. It's we've been on hold for that for like a year and some change now, so it's kind of all right. We'll figure it out.
I need that concert.
Here it is.
I hope it's not the same weekend as my wife's family reunion.
Didn't he get something? This is going back a little ways here.
Yeah, like a year.
No, it's been this year or.
It's been a year.
I don't know. We'll figure it out. This is not something we're gonna.
But that
on air.
That's a show I need. I need Megadeth.
Yeah, I've seen Megadeth a couple times. So
I haven't seen Megadeth yet, so I want to go see him, and I want to go see him.
That's right. Because see, here's the thing. Like I said, I saw Motley Crue 2 different times within a couple of years of each, with 2 different. One of the times the Scorpions opened for them, which is the one we went to.
Exactly.
The other time it was Megadeth.
Yeah,
they were kind of the Megadeth opened for them. So, well, kind of like the Scorpions. It wasn't really an opening. They were like, there was another opening act.
It was a double headliner.
Yeah, but it wasn't even a double headliner. Motley Crue was the headliners. Yeah. But it was, I guess, with special guests more than
I need to see Megadeth before something happens to Dave.
Yeah,
Dave.
Well, it's like I said, I've seen them a couple of times. I saw them back in the mid-'90s when Euthanasia was released, and then I saw them, on that whatever that one was in the early 2000s, I guess. So anyways, that is our analysis of the mystery tape for now.
I'll have to try to get that converted over digital. We will get we can clip it up.
We'll get what we can on our YouTube page. When this goes, there will be links to stuff. If nothing else, we'll at least have links to the videos that we saw rather than those, because the sound wasn't really good on some of that stuff. The tape had worn in places, and it's like, all right,
that's almost kind of the charm of some of it, though.
Yeah. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for joining us. I am Alan Smith.
Did you forget who you were there for me?
I did.
I'm the other guy. I'm Big Dave.
And this is the Project Gen X podcast. We thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.